You didn't just watch Cheers, you went there. Every Thursday night, for 11 years, you walked through that door, sat down at that bar, and for half an hour, those people were your friends. You knew their voices, their seats. What Norm was going to say before he said it. 3 of them are gone now. If that hits you the way it hit me, hit subscribe. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going through all 10 of them, where they came from, what happened after the bar went dark, and the ones we lost along the way. The most recent loss, barely a year ago, and one of them left us while the show was still on the air. The way the cast honored him is one of the quietest, most beautiful things in television history. There's a photograph on the back wall of that bar. It hung there for 8 years. Almost nobody watching at home knew whose it was. The cast never explained it, never mentioned it on camera, but it was always there, every episode, every night. One of them invented his own character in the audition room when the part he wanted went to somebody else. The leading lady walked away from one of the biggest shows on television, and Cheers didn't just survive, it got bigger. And one of them played the same character for over 20 years, across 2 series, becoming one of the longest-running roles in primetime history. But the man at the center? He's 78, still the lead. He just received one of television's highest honors, and his newest show was renewed for a 3rd season, number 10. Everyone remembers her as the coldest woman on Thursday night television. What they didn't know, she'd been a dancer her whole life, trained under Foss, 2 Tonys on Broadway. The ice was her finest role. The fire was always real. Bebe Neuwirth was 5 when she started ballet lessons. Her mother had taken her to see the Nutcracker the year before, and something landed. Not a thought, a pull. She spent her childhood in leotards and tights, chasing a dream of ballet. By her teens, she realized the dream needed a bigger stage. So she pivoted to musical theater, 1980, a chorus line. Her Broadway debut. 6 years later, Bob Fosse cast her in Sweet Charity, first Tony. A decade after that, she played Velma Kelly in the revival of Chicago and won her 2nd. Then she did something no performer had done before. She came back to the same production as Roxy Hart, then came back again as Mama Morton. 3 roles, 1 show, 1 woman. The first ever to do it. Television audiences knew none of this. To them, she was one thing. Lilith, Frazier Crane's ice-cold wife. 2 Emmys for a character so perfectly rigid that fans forgot the woman underneath could move like fire. When Frazier got his own spin-off, they offered her a permanent seat. She turned it down. Broadway was calling. In 2024, at 65, she earned yet another Tony nomination for Cabaret. She's 67 now, still on stage, still choosing the harder road. But while Bebe was owning Broadway, a voice was quietly becoming one of the most heard in cinema history. You've been listening to him since you were a kid. You just might not know his face. Here's a question. What do a piggy bank, an abominable snowman, a circus flea, and a truck named Mac have in common? The same voice. For nearly 3 decades, Pixar treated one actor as their good luck charm, putting him in virtually every feature film they made. Children around the world grew up listening to him. Almost none of them knew his name. John Ratzenberger, Cliff Clavin, the know-it-all mailman in white socks. But here's the part most people don't know. Cliff Clavin didn't exist. Not in the script, not in anyone's head. Ratzenberger walked into the Cheers audition in 1982 and read for Norm. He didn't get it, but instead of leaving, he stopped and asked the producers a question. "Have you guys written a bar know-it-all yet?" They looked at each other. They hadn't. He described the character right there in the room. The blowhard postman convinced he's the smartest guy at the bar. They said yes before he reached the door. That character lasted 11 seasons, 2 Emmy nominations, and then Pixar called. Ham in Toy Story, The Yeti in Monsters, Inc., The Underminer, Mac, film after film after film. Add up the box office, and he's one of the highest-grossing actors in history. Most people couldn't pick him out of a lineup. He's 79. That voice in your ear you never quite placed. And the kid who stepped onto the Cheers set to fill shoes that had just been emptied by a funeral? That story is next. 3 Academy Award nominations. Let that land for a second. The guy who played the sweet, slow-witted bartender from small-town Indiana, the one who thought a pen pal meant you mailed each other pens, has been nominated for an Oscar. 3 times. Woody Harrelson showed up on the Cheers set in 1985. He was 24 years old. Nobody had heard of him. And the part he was filling belonged to Coach, one of the most beloved characters on television, played by a man who had just left us. The producers needed someone the audience wouldn't resent. They chose a kid from Ohio with a wide grin and almost nothing on his resume. It worked. Within 4 years, Harrelson had an Emmy on his shelf. But here's where the story turns. When Cheers ended, the guy everyone expected to stay in comedy drove straight past it. White Men Can't Jump, Natural-Born Killers, The People vs. Larry Flynt, his first Oscar nomination. Then The Messenger. Then 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, True Detective. 4 films as Haymitch in The Hunger Games, the drunk mentor with a broken heart hiding behind every joke. He's 64. In 2025 alone, he appeared in 4 major releases. He hasn't slowed down since. If you're watching this and already thinking about someone you want to share it with, go ahead. That button's right there. Not a bad second act for a kid nobody knew. But the person who came next had an even harder job. She didn't have to replace a man the audience had lost. She had to replace a woman who chose to leave. On one of the most popular shows in the country. 1987. Shelley Long walks out of Cheers. The show is at its peak. Critics are already writing the obituary, and a woman from Wichita, Kansas, walks onto the set. Her name is Kirstie Alley. She'd played a Vulcan officer in Star Trek. She'd done a handful of comedies. Nothing remotely this big. First day on the Cheers stage, season 6. The crew had spent 5 years with Shelley Long. Every mark on that floor still felt like hers. Alley walked to the bar, picked up a drink order, and delivered her first line. By the time the cameras cut, the room had shifted. Rebecca Howe was everything Diane Chambers wasn't. Ambitious, messy, self-conscious, completely her own creation. Alley didn't try to make anyone forget Shelley Long. She gave them someone entirely new to care about. And they did. By 1991, she'd won both an Emmy and a Golden Globe for the role. She starred alongside John Travolta in Look Who's Talking, one of the biggest comedies of '89. Won a second Emmy in '94 for the TV film David's Mother. She never stopped. On December 5th, 2022, Kirstie Alley left us. She was 71. Her children said she never lost her fight, never lost her fire. She was the one who proved that Cheers was bigger than any one person. The show didn't just survive the impossible cast change, it thrived. 6 more seasons. And a lot of that is because she walked in when everyone else expected it to fall apart. The woman who held it together behind the bar for all 11 years, the one with 4 Emmys and the sharpest tongue on the entire set, she's still here. And her story starts in Brooklyn. 10 Emmy nominations for the same role, 4 wins. A record 6 Golden Globe nominations in her category. Numbers like that usually belong to the lead. Rhea Perlman was never the lead. She didn't need to be. Carla Tortelli was the waitress who said what everyone was thinking, louder, faster, and meaner than anyone in the room. For 11 seasons, Perlman delivered every insult like she'd been saving it up since breakfast. The Television Academy agreed. The audience agreed louder. But here's a detail that sneaks up on you. Perlman grew up in Coney Island, Brooklyn. Her father, Phil, managed a doll parts factory. When he moved to Los Angeles to be near his daughter, the Cheers producers gave him a seat at the bar. Literally. He became Phil, the quiet old man in thick glasses near the back. He appeared throughout the run of the show, right there on the same set as his kid. Camera caught him sometimes. A look, a line, father and daughter. Same bar. Perlman met Danny DeVito in 1971. She walked into a theater to see a friend's play. He was in the cast. They moved in together 2 weeks later. Married in '82, the same year Cheers premiered. 3 children, still married today. In 2023, she played Ruth Handler, the woman who created Barbie, in the biggest film of the year. She's 78 now. Still the sharpest voice in any room she enters. We're halfway through. And the second half, that's where this story turns. A photograph. A name the whole country shouted every Thursday night, and the man who turned off the lights. The photograph. You've seen it. If you tuned in at any point after season 3, you've seen it on the back wall of the bar, near the piano. Nobody on the show ever mentioned it. No character pointed to it. No storyline explained it. It was just there. Episode after episode, year after year, 8 seasons. It was a portrait of Geronimo, and it belonged to a man named Nicholas Colasanto. Colasanto was nearly 60 when he got the part of Coach. He'd spent decades as a director, Columbo, Bonanza, Starsky and Hutch, and he had small roles in films like Raging Bull and Hitchcock's Family Plot. He was ready to retire. Then the call came. An aging baseball coach who tended bar and couldn't quite follow the conversation. Heart of the show. Heart of the cast. By season 3, something was wrong. The cast noticed he was losing weight. He kept the truth to himself. His lines got harder to remember. The producers quietly lit the underside of the bar so he could hide cue cards on cocktail napkins. Shortly after Christmas, 1984, he was admitted to the hospital. His doctor told him not to go back to work. He went back anyway, shot one more cold open, promised everyone he'd be there for the finale. On February 12, 1985, Nicholas Colasanto left us. He was 61. The Cheers set went dark for a day. The producers didn't recast Coach. They couldn't. Instead, they took the photograph of Geronimo from his dressing room and hung it on the wall. It stayed there for 8 years. And in the final scene of the final episode, May 20th, 1993, after the last customer leaves, after the last light is about to go out, Sam Malone walks to that wall, reaches up, and straightens the photograph. No words, no explanation, just that. John Ratzenberger was the only cast member who made it to the funeral in Rhode Island. The rest were mid-production in California. 300 mourners attended the Mass at Holy Cross Church in Providence, the city he came from, the city he went home to. The role that came next, the one created to fill his absence, made a young man from Texas into a movie star. But Coach came first, and the cast never let anyone forget it. 6 episodes. That's what he was hired for. Kelsey Grammer showed up in season 3 of Cheers as Diane Chambers' new love interest, a pompous, Harvard-educated psychiatrist who walks into a Boston bar and never quite leaves. The producers figured 6 episodes, maybe a few more. The character would serve his purpose. Then he'd move on. He stayed for 20 years. Frazier Crane appeared on Cheers from 1984 to 1993. Then he got his own show. Frazier ran another 11 seasons. Same character, same actor. One of the longest runs for a single live-action role in the history of American television. 6 Emmy Awards along the way. And a side gig voicing Sideshow Bob on The Simpsons. A villain so beloved the writers kept bringing him back for over 3 decades. In 2023, he came back one more time. A Frasier revival on Paramount+, 2 seasons. Bebe Neuwirth returned as Lilith. The character that was supposed to last 6 episodes had now spanned 4 decades across 3 different shows. He was born in the US Virgin Islands, started in theater, found his way to a casting director who thought he looked like a man who'd drink scotch in a bar and tell strangers about Kierkegaard. They weren't wrong. He's 71, still unmistakably Frazier, the footnote that became the whole book. But the next name, there's no preparing for it, because this one just happened. And if you love Cheers, you already know the sound. Norm! You hear it. You hear the whole bar turning. You hear the stools shifting and the glasses clinking. And you hear that voice, low, warm, already half smiling, delivering whatever line was waiting for him at the door. Can I draw you a beer, Norm? No, I know what they look like. What's shaking? Norm? All 4 cheeks and a couple of chins. George Wendt played Norm Peterson for all 11 seasons. Every single episode. He sat on that same bar stool, drank that same fake beer, warm, flat, non-alcoholic, with a pinch of salt for the foam, and made it look like heaven. 6 consecutive Emmy nominations. The audience didn't just love Norm, they wanted to be Norm. They wanted a place where everyone knew their name, and a stool with their shape in it, and a friend like Cliff who'd never stop talking. Before Cheers, Wendt swept floors at Chicago's Second City Theater. His first day, a woman handed him a broom and said, "Welcome to the theater, kid." He swept his way into the company, met a fellow performer named Bernadette Burkett, married her in '78. She'd go on to voice Norm's wife, Vera, the woman you hear but never see. Together for nearly 5 decades. After Cheers, Wendt did what Norm would have done, kept showing up. Guest spots, stage work, SNL, where he and the other superfans cheered for DeBears, smaller roles, quieter life. He wrote a book called Drinking with George. He raised 3 kids. His nephew, his sister Kathy's boy, grew up to star in a little show called Ted Lasso. On May 20th, 2025, George Wendt left us in his sleep at his home in Los Angeles. He was 76. May 20th, the same date the Cheers finale aired, 32 years to the day. There's a real Cheers bar in Boston. After the news broke, they set up a memorial in the spot where Norm always sat. Nobody asked them to. They just did it. The door closes. The woman with the blonde hair is on the other side of it. She's just told Sam she'll be back in 6 months. He's told her to go. She doesn't come back. Not for 6 years. Shelley long left Cheers after season 5 in 1987. The show was at its peak. She'd won an Emmy, 2 Golden Globes. Critics called her half of one of the greatest will-they-won't-they romances in television history, and she walked away. People said it was a mistake. The headlines were unkind, but Long had her reasons, and years later she explained them simply. She wanted to do new things, and she wanted time with her daughter. She never said she regretted it. Before Cheers, she'd come up through the comedy scene in Chicago, won 3 local Emmys co-hosting a magazine show called Sorting It Out, turned down a role in E.T. She'd already signed on for Night Shift, her first feature with Ron Howard. She was one of the funniest women in the country before anyone had heard of Diane Chambers. After Cheers, she made films. The Money Pit with Tom Hanks, Outrageous Fortune with Bette Midler, Troop Beverly Hills, which missed at the time but found its audience years later. She came back as Carol Brady in the Brady Bunch movie, played a recurring role on Modern Family, kept working, kept choosing. In 1993, she returned for the Cheers finale. One more episode, one more scene with Sam. 80 million people watched the door open one last time. She's 76. She lives a quiet life now, no announced projects. She didn't attend the 2024 Emmy reunion where the cast gathered on a replica Cheers set. That's her choice. It always was. Nobody saw that coming, that the woman who left would be the one who proved the show's thesis. Cheers wasn't about staying forever. It was about a place you could always come back to. And now, the man behind the bar. The one who never left. Here's a moment you never saw on camera. 1979. Ted Danson is at the hospital. His daughter is being born. There are complications. Serious ones. He spends the months that follow not acting, not auditioning, caring, learning what matters when everything else stops. 3 years later, he walks onto a soundstage in Los Angeles and picks up a bar towel. The character is Sam Malone, a womanizing ex-pitcher who runs a bar and charms everyone in the room. The man playing him was someone who'd just learned, in the hardest way, that real life doesn't look like charm. Maybe that's why Sam always felt real. Under the smile, something heavier. Under the jokes, a man holding on. Born December 29th, 1947, Ted Danson is 78 years old today, and if you only knew him from the 80s, you'd barely recognize the career he built after. When Cheers ended, he could have coasted. He didn't. He played a doctor on Becca for 6 seasons, played a demon architect on The Good Place, a show about what it means to be a good person, which is a question he seems to have spent his real life answering. He's been married to Mary Steenburgen since '95, 31 years. They work together now. She joined the 2nd season of his current show, A Man on the Inside, on Netflix. It was renewed for a 3rd season in February. They were jointly awarded the Bob Hope Humanitarian Award at the 2025 Emmys. And Danson personally received the Carol Burnett Award, given for outstanding contributions to the medium. He's 78. He's the lead on a hit show, and he still cares about getting it right. You saw it in that last scene. May 20th, 93. The bar is empty. Sam walks to the back wall and straightens the photograph of Geronimo, the one Nick Colasanto kept in his dressing room, the one the cast hung there when he left us. 8 years it had been on that wall. Danson didn't have to say anything. He just reached up, adjusted the frame, and turned off the lights. That's who he is, the one who stays, the one who straightens the picture, the one who makes sure nobody's forgotten. Final chapter. 3 of the 10 people who made Cheers are no longer with us. Nicholas Colasanto gave the show its heart and left behind a photograph that kept it beating for 8 more years. Kirstie Alley walked in when everyone expected the show to collapse and made them forget it ever could. George Wendt sat on that stool every week for 11 years and made the whole country wish they had somewhere they belonged. They are missed. All 3. Every time someone yells Norm at a stranger in a bar, every time someone straightens a crooked picture, every time the door swings open and the room gets a little warmer. 11 seasons, 10 people. A bar that started dead last in the ratings and ended as one of the most watched farewells in television history. Some of them became movie stars. Some of them became Broadway legends. Some of them became voices you hear every time you watch an animated film with your kids. And some of them are gone, but the stool is still warm. Cheers wasn't the fanciest show. It wasn't the flashiest. It was just a place where people showed up, sat down, and were known. If someone you know grew up watching this show, send them this video. And if this is the kind of story you want to hear again, we've got more coming. Subscribe and we'll see you at the bar.